So recently, Martin Scorsese has released a masterclass in which he talks about the fundamentals of filmmaking, whether that be working with actors, set design, location scouting, video editing, etc. And this masterclass comes with a $90 price tag. So what I like to do in this video is basically talk to the people who are kind of on the fence as to whether or not they want to invest into this masterclass. In this video, I'd like to just go over three things. The first thing I'd like to go over is just specifically, what do you get? What are you buying into? Secondly, I'd like to talk about who do I think this masterclass is for? Who is kind of the target sort of audience, or who's going to get the most out of it? And thirdly, I'd just like to talk about whether it's worth it. Is it worth paying $90 for this masterclass? Is it worth the price tag? Firstly, what is it you actually get? So there's 30 lessons altogether, or 30 videos altogether, and these videos can range from a minute and a half in length up to maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes in length, and approximately the overall runtime of the videos in Masterclass is around 4.5 hours. But I'd also like to point out that it doesn't necessarily end with just the videos. There is also a kind of a PDF workbook which has various assignments, and the videos are not kind of designed to just be watched in like a single sitting. They're kind of designed to be watched kind of in sections, and then you do the assignments and go back to the next video and things. And also there's something called Hub. So Masterclass has a kind of, it's kind of like a, let's say like a forum in which people can network, people can share their films and be critiqued on them, people can ask questions, ask for advice, and things like that, which I honestly think is one of the kind of the best parts of it. It doesn't just end with the video, and also it's nice to just kind of be surrounded. I think we live in a time when the internet is so saturated that sharing stuff on social media, you're not always kind of reaching people who share the same interests. But what's nice is it's a very focused kind of group. There's a lot of people, and everyone is really kind of inspired and kind of passionate to share and help each other, and things like that. So I would say that the hub is a big part of that, of what makes it worth it, let's say. And there's also office hours, which is basically you can, via webcam or via camera, you can ask a question, and the idea is you send in your question and the teacher of the masterclass will answer it. Now, as the Martin Scorsese one's new, I haven't actually seen any questions and answers yet, but I mean, in other masterclasses, like for example the Hans Zimmer masterclass, I've seen people ask questions about the creative process or networking and things like that, and he's actually made videos in reply to that, which I thought was really impressive. I'd say with the videos themselves, there's a kind of a three-act structure, I think. So the first section, I'd say, focuses on self-reflection and kind of figuring out what is the story that you are compelled to share with audiences. What are the ideas, what are the philosophies that you feel compelled to really put there out into the world, and what is the driving force behind you wanting to make films. It talks a lot about watching a lot of films, but understanding what it is you can take from them, and understanding how you channel your influences and things like that. And I think there's a lot of emphasis on just making a film and making another film and figuring out, as you keep creating, what are the sort of distinct things that kind of set you apart from other people, what defines your style and what defines your approach to filmmaking. So for the second part, and I'd say that this probably makes up the bulk of the running time in the masterclass, is we get like a kind of an overview of every aspect of the filmmaking process, whether that's writing your scripts, editing or sound design, costume design, music, and so on. And I think this is kind of what you're paying for here is essentially his unique perspective on each of these things, and understanding how he approaches these things, and understanding what works for him and what he feels doesn't work for him, but at the same time also what has worked for other people which might not necessarily work for him. And again, this ties into the emphasis on finding your own kind of distinctive or personal approach to the filmmaking and creative process. The final part of the masterclass, I think, is, and it was the shortest part, is kind of a look at various scenes from different directors, whether that's Truffaut, Stanley Kubrick, Fellini, Alfred Hitchcock. And this is kind of a chance for you to kind of apply the things you've learned in part two, which talks about editing and things like that, and lighting and so on. And what he's doing is kind of trying to get you to really see what's on the screen more, and be more engaged with different scenes, different shots. So we'll be presented with a scene, and he'll talk about the way the actors are interacting with each other, the use of lighting, the use of color, the way it's been edited, and also with the camera movement and so on. And so I think this is kind of there to teach you how to really see what's on screen when you're watching a movie, and really see the kind of subtleties that help really define a great scene. And I guess this is there for you to really think about, again, what makes a great scene, and how do I apply that to my own creative process? How do I apply that to my own filmmaking? Okay, so now I'd like to talk about who do I think this masterclass is for. And my kind of instinct is this is really something for the big fans of Martin Scorsese. If you really love his films, if you've watched his films on repeat again and again and again, I think you're going to find this masterclass really rewarding, whether you have an interest in making films or not. I think it's really a nice and kind of personal way to kind of understand his creative process, and understand what went behind his films. I think if you're an aspiring filmmaker, obviously there's things you can learn from it, but I think one thing he points this out in the trailer, is he says, if you're intrigued by movie making as a career, this isn't the class for you. But if you need to make a movie, if you feel like you can't rest until you've told this particular story that you've been burning to tell in moving images and sound, then I could be speaking to you. And I think this kind of ties in with maybe the biggest lesson of the masterclass, and that is you have to kind of find your own route, because there's an approach that he takes to making films, and there's a kind of story that he feels compelled to tell that isn't going to be the same story that you're compelled to tell. And because, you've both lived completely different lives, so then as a result, you're going to have to find your own approach and your own kind of path. So in a way, he can't just tell you, do this, do that, do this, do that. You have to kind of figure that out for yourself, which he kind of makes clear from the beginning. So now I'd like to go to the last question of whether or not Masterclass is worth $90. Is it worth it? And I think if we look at it purely from just the videos, I'd feel like, they could easily just release all these videos as some kind of like DVD box set. And I'd say the price tag, if that box set came at a price of $90, I'd say it's probably not worth it. But I think something they emphasize is the fact that Masterclass doesn't just end with the videos. There's the forums, which they call Hub, which you can kind of, engage with other people who are taking the course. And I feel like within Hub, there is actually a lot of potential to network, find people to work with, find actors, find people who are interested in cinematography, and build a team and really build something together. I feel like it's a good starting point to kind of get to know other people who share the same interests as you. And it's also a great place to ask questions and say, like, or share a short film. Share a film that you've made and say, what's good, what's bad, what should I work on, and things like that. And I think it's a great platform to really develop, especially if you're a beginner. So I think Hub, essentially it's what you make of it, and it's how much you engage with it. But I think things like Hub, and then also the office hours and things like that, and I feel like the way everything comes together, I'd say it is worth the price tag. Thank you for watching this video. If you do have any questions, if you feel like there's something I didn't cover, please feel free to drop me a question in the comments. Also, did you watch this masterclass? Have you taken part in this masterclass? And what did you like? What did you not like about the masterclass? What do you think could have been improved? Or what do you think I was just completely wrong about in this review? Once again, please feel free to drop a question, drop a line in the comments, and I just want to say thank you for watching.